Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. This Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. First thing is to approve our agenda this morning. Can I get, well, first, is there any public input on our agenda as listed? All right, if not, can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Otten.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Nope.
Landine?
Yes. Moving on into our consent agenda. Any input on our consent agenda this morning? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Otten.
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes. All right, first item on our regular business is a deferred item from January 28th. And so we had the public hearing on this at the last meeting. So I'm not going to take public comment on that agenda item today, but would consider a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve. And your motion is to approve the change in the rezone?
Correct.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, if no discussion, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
No.
Schmidt?
No.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
No. So the rezone is not approved. We'll move on to the next agenda item. We have board action to execute a 2025 agreement with Southeast Behavioral Health Care. And that, Joe, you gonna tee it up for us?
Good morning, Joe Meter, Deputy State's Attorney. The requested board action today is to execute this year's agreement for the Mobile Health Crisis Team, which performs services in Minnehaha and Lincoln County on this side of the river. By way of background, just take a step back and maybe to inform some of the new members and to revisit the issue with our commission. I've also invited Kim Hansen and Tiffany Wolfgang, who are the Director of Support Services and CEO for Southeastern Behavioral Health Care. They're here to answer any questions you may have about this, but just briefly before I turn the mic over to them, for those who don't know and are listening, Lincoln County, a service we perform for the county is to pay for involuntary commitments which occur if Lincoln County is the referring county for individuals who are brought to Avera Behavioral who are on an active mental health crisis. In 2010, our legislature took a step back and said, okay, we've learned a lot in the past 30 years about how mental health crises work and how those individuals are to be treated. The previous language of the statute said that law enforcement agents shall deliver an individual who is having an active mental health crisis to Avera Behavioral. They had no other options. And like I said, in 2010, our legislature decided to execute some statutory reforms which created this mental health team. And basically, here's the crux of the issue, is it went from Avera Behavioral in 2010 typically cost the county $750 a night for an individual to be treated and to have a bed there. That was 2010. I don't know the number today, but I'm guessing that is much larger. The Mobile Health Crisis Team appeared and now is under statutory authority to arrive on scene and to kind of make, I guess, not a one-size-fits-all decision for individuals who are having mental health crises. For example, maybe a 20-something couple that had a fight at Wiley's goes back to their house and the male says, I'm going to perform self-harm. That's different from an individual who's middle-aged, has a documented history of psychosis, other issues. We know he needs to go to Avera Behavioral Health. So that's kind of the functionary difference of what mental health crisis team can do when they arrive on scene. They don't have to bring an individual to Avera Behavioral Health. They have other options available to them that are possibly more financially sound for the county, more beneficial to the individual that's actually being treated, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the reason for the request, just a little background for you for why this team does exist. And now I'd like to turn it over to them unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right.
Good morning. I'm
Good
Kim
morning.
Hansen. I am the director of our Community Support Services at Southeastern, which is our services for adult individuals who are diagnosed with a severe mental illness. And I have brought with me our new CEO, Tiffany Wolfgang, who has been with us since December. So I just wanted to go through my slideshow a little bit and talk about our services, what we do, so that you can see for yourselves the benefits. So we did expand into Lincoln County in 2017. We started the program in 2011. The program is managed by Southeastern, and it's reimbursed by the counties. MCT is a partnership with law enforcement to reduce the number of unnecessary mental illness holds, as Joe had said. It's a way for an individual experiencing a crisis to talk through their situation and be heard. We're a 24/7, 365-day-a-year program. We provide services to both Minnehaha and Lincoln counties, and MCT is law enforcement activated. That is the way the statute reads. So the team is comprised of 12 individuals who are trained and have experience in crisis de-escalation to help a person who is in crisis work through their situation and come up with a safety plan. And all members of the team are Southeastern employees. I already mentioned that we're 24/7, 365. We have a phone number. We used to use a pager, and we have a phone number now that I actually forward to the team members' phone when they're on call. So it is a call that comes straight through to their phone. The team member uses their own phone and vehicle, and they are reimbursed. So when law enforcement is called to a situation where a person is experiencing a crisis and they have to meet the criteria to be placed on a hold. So either a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or mentally ill and unable to care for their own basic needs. They have to meet those criteria in order for law enforcement to call mobile crisis. Because if we're going to hospitalize them, take away their civil liberties, we have to have justification for doing that. There are reasons that mobile crisis may decline calls, and reasons for them are if somebody is too impaired by drugs or alcohol to effectively communicate, we would not be able to meet with them. If the individual is a minor and they don't have a legal guardian available to give consent for us to meet with them, we would not be able to come. If an attempt has been made, such as if someone has ingested pills or the attempt has been made to hang themselves and the noose broke, something like that, we would want them to go to the hospital for treatment. If the person is requesting to go to the hospital voluntarily, we would try to make that happen. And if there is no probable cause for a mental illness hold, then we would not meet with them. So once law enforcement is there and they determine that this is something that could possibly be de-escalated with mobile crisis, they contact us. We get from them a summary of why they were called there, what they have noticed since they've been there, and then just some basic questions like the person's name, age, whether they are under the influence, if they've been PBT'd, if they are under the influence, and how effectively they can communicate. It doesn't mean that we're not going to come out if they're under the influence, but if they're extremely impaired, then we would not. And then the staff member does their best to arrive on scene within 20 minutes. I do know that I have heard some feedback that in some of the outlying areas in Lincoln County that it sometimes takes a little bit longer than that. But we do our best to be there within those 20 minutes. So once we're on scene, the team member meets with the initiating officer and again reviews the information, and then they meet face-to-face with that person and talk through their crisis. I have the information when I arrive at the calls, but I want that person to tell me in their words what's going on. I want to hear them out and just really be there to listen to them and help them process through that crisis. The ultimate goal is to leave the individual at home if it's safe to do so. So we ensure this by asking a series of questions, evaluating them, and then creating a safety plan. And this is also a great opportunity for that person to talk through their experience and de-escalate them and just help them be heard. So as far as the safety plan is concerned, it contains information as to why law enforcement was called, general safety questions, including promises from the person not to harm themselves or others, a request for a referral for therapy or other community resources that might be available to help that person ongoing, things that they have to look forward or something that they have to live for. We help them identify that. An agreement to remove means of suicide, follow their medication regime, refrain from using substances, and the promise not to self-harm. And then we talk about what they're going to do for the next 24 hours. So kind of looking for that forward thinking. Signatures from both the individual and the MCT staff member, and then the individual does receive a copy of that plan so that they have something to reference. So I don't want to give the impression that there's never a time and a place for hospitalization. I mean, certainly if we can't come up with that satisfactory safety plan, then we do want to consider that person's safety, and we would move forward with the hold if it is necessary. However, if that is the only option, then we are honest with that person. I mean, communication is always the best policy, so we tell them that they're being placed on a hold and why. And then law enforcement does initiate that hold and take the person into custody and get them to the hospital, since they are the only entity that is legally allowed to do that. If I were to do that, I would have to file the petition. It would have to be signed by one of the board chairs, and then the person would get picked up. So it can be a process. And then once at the hospital, law enforcement does meet with the inpatient staff to let them know why that person is there. If somebody does stay home on a safety plan, the next day we give that person a call, check in with them. How are you doing? And then again, revisit. What can we do to ensure your continued safety? Do you need a referral for a therapist? Is there another community program that we can get you connected to? Sometimes they need case management. And then we do help them with the referrals. We encourage self-care, and we give reminders to be safe and call for help if needed. So then I threw in here a slide of last year's stats, so you can kind of see the breakdown. We had a total of 217 calls that we responded to. We did decline 39 calls for the reasons that I had previously stated. Of the 275 individuals we went out on, 175 did remain at home. 3 of them went to Avera Behavioral on a voluntary admission. 3 went to detox or the link, and then 34 did still end up going in on mental illness holds. And then you can just see the breakdown of the hours that we spent and the call time. And then the next slide is the demographics broken down. So you can see that that 21 to 40 age range is the most common age range of people that we do go out on. I have noticed over the course of the last few years that there has been an increase in age. I think that kind of changed a little bit with COVID and people feeling isolated. So we are starting to see a little bit older population. And then the gender, males to females, 50-50, which is pretty typical. And then 3 that identify with the other category. We had an 84.3% diversion rate overall. That's how our percentage of people who were safely left at home after doing that safety plan. And then here's the referral sources. So as you can see, About 16% of our calls are now coming from Lincoln County, which is great. I mean, that's why we expanded into Lincoln County, because we knew that there was definitely a need for it. And then two, to show you just a little bit further breakdown so you can see where the Lincoln County calls are coming from. 6 of them were from the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. 12 were from the T Police Department. 1 was Klein due to no probable cause. And then 22 of the calls were responded to by Sioux Falls PD in Lincoln County because of the boundaries of Sioux Falls. So that is my slideshow. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any
I-
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. When you make a client promise not to hurt himself or herself or others, how much, I mean, when you say that they have to agree to that, how many have you found that just use that as to get you off their back and then turned around and have harmed themselves or others?
Actually, I can only think of one instance where that has actually happened. So it's not just, making them agree. It's a process of going through a form where we talk about, what's upsetting you. We gather information about their history and whether they've had suicide attempts in the past, if they've had psychiatric hospitalizations. And then we talk about, what types of things do you have to live for? And, if they say something like, well, my kids, I mean, that's a no-brainer, then they're probably going to be okay. And then we have to make a determination at that point, after going through that entire process of, do we feel comfortable proceeding with this, or do we need to think about a hospitalization? And then from there, we talk about referrals, and then we ask the safety questions. And then the last thing that we ask on that particular form is, tell me what you're going to do for the next 24 hours. Well, if they say something like, well, when you leave, I'm going to get something to eat, grab a shower, watch some TV, go to bed, get up and go to work tomorrow, they're forward thinking, so then they're probably going to be okay. But if they say, well, I'm probably going to start drinking again, something like that, where there's question of whether they really are committed to that safety, then we would proceed with that hospitalization. And then once the safety form is completed and we're comfortable, then they sign it, we sign it, and they do get a copy of it.
Thank you. And then how many of these people are repeats to you?
Actually, it's very rare. The other thing that's interesting is that we rarely see our own clients on mobile crisis. I would say that about maybe 5% are repeats that we've seen either from previous years or on a regular basis. So it is pretty rare.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Kim, thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate the presentation. Just a couple clarifying questions first. Under the MCT annual statistics for 2024 slide, is that a combination of Minnehaha County and Lincoln County?
It is. That one is a combination.
Would you happen, maybe sometime in the future, would you be able to provide one for Lincoln County?
Absolutely. Yes, I can break it down further. We did on the slide down here show,
Yeah, under the referral
yeah.
sources?
where the referrals are coming from. But if you want me to keep a separate set of statistics just for Lincoln County, I can absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, and that would kind of give another layer of transparency so people
Sure.
can understand, because Minnehaha County is much different than Lincoln County in a lot of ways, so I think that would be helpful. Another question I have is the diversion rate the same for Lincoln County as what it is for Minnehaha County?
So with the diversion rate, I did lump it together, and honestly, I can't tell you what the exact number is for Lincoln County, but it would be very similar.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm kind of,
Maybe even a little higher.
yeah, you can kind of parse through the numbers and see that, but I wasn't quite sure what the what that was. And then another question I have, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, maybe this is a question for Joe. When somebody does have a crisis, they do get referred to or involuntarily committed to Avera Behavioral Health. If they have private insurance, is their private insurance billed as opposed to the county, or how does that work?
No, we do not bill the individual for mobile crisis services.
Okay, all right. Is that a thing?
It never has been. I mean, it's possibly something that could be discussed, but I guess we never have.
Okay. Well, I mean, especially in this day and age, everyone is wanting to be more cost conscious, as well as if there is an insurance carrier provider to draw upon. I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. Do other jurisdictions do that? Do insurance companies play ball with that? And the reason I bring it up is, and I'll kind of digress here, but we had the city of Lenox come in front of us about a year ago with regard to their ambulance service. And they wanted to impose this tax and everything on everybody. And what we asked them was, are you sending out a bill for service to these people? And then are you following through with that? Obviously there's different insurance provider reimbursement rates. But what we found out is they weren't pushing the issue with requesting reimbursement even though the service was provided. And so I'm just wondering if that's a potential revenue stream here as well, in order to cut down on cost to taxpayers, so.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say is that, an ambulance service with EMTs compared to an individual on mobile crisis coming out cost-wise would be very different.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not something that could be considered.
Yeah, and I think the cost-benefit ratio here, 700, I mean, we're paying, what, $62 a month?
Right.
That's a pretty good deal for taxpayers, I think. So getting reimbursement for that, I'm more so kind of looking at the involuntary commitment process and the more time-intensive process, whether that is billed to insurance.
Okay, so
and
as
some
far
other stuff.
as the inpatient side of
Yeah.
things are considered, then yes, once the person is at the hospital and they sign in, then the person is billed for the services.
Okay, good to know. Thank you
Yes,
for
you're
clarifying
welcome.
that. Yeah, I think that
Yes.
helps out a lot.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have one. Kim, I was trying to follow the different avenues or paths that you have after your initial interview. And you mentioned case management. Who provides that, and is that a long-term? Do they agree? Can you just briefly describe the case management process?
Sure. So Southeastern is a community mental health center. We provide services to 4 counties in our catchment area. So Lincoln, McCook, Minnehaha, and Turner. Sorry about that. So we do outreach to those areas, and we provide case management at our facility if people are able to come to us. It is a long-term thing. I mean, certainly there are those situations where somebody may only need help for a little while, and if they decide that that's appropriate, then that's fine. They can withdraw from services. But for the most part, once somebody is enrolled in our services and realize the benefit of having that extra help, they stay for the long term. Yes.
Which cuts down on recidivism and so many other things.
Absolutely.
Preventiveness rather than remediation. Okay. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any public input on the request for board action to execute the agreement? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Commission. Chad Skiles from Canton. Wasn't planning on speaking this morning, but this one's too important not to speak about. As being a first responder in Lincoln County for 40 years, I've responded to hundreds of mental and behavioral emergencies in my career, and also doubling as a peer debriefer for a critical incident stress management team that I go out and help with first responders who deal with high stress type calls. I just come before you and say, we need to support this. We need to continue this. The mobile crisis team provides an absolute invaluable service for mental health in Lincoln County, and I highly encourage you to continue service with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other input on this agenda item? All
Madam
right,
Chair, move for approval.
thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Schmidt. I've got a motion by Schmidt, second by Aaron's. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
about a month ago, I was named to be the Commission's representative to Southeastern Behavioral. So, and Tiffany, thank you for the email correspondence. We finally figured out which entity the commission member was supposed to be a part of. And sounds like for several years now, we haven't had that figured out. So, and Tiffany, welcome to Southeastern Behavioral Health. I think the board meeting was the same day we had the email exchange, so I will be at the next quarterly meeting. So I appreciate us being able to connect on that and actually figure that out as a commission now, so we can have a commission voice on Southeastern Behavioral. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, if not, Alicia, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. All right, next we have Terry, but I see Jared. Good morning,
You get the
Jared.
better half.
Uh-oh.
Good morning, Jared Narum, Assistant Highway Superintendent. Looking for board authorization for the Highway Department to receive bids for our 2025 striping project.
All right, anybody have any questions for Jared? All right, if not, is there any public input on this agenda item? All right, can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to authorize the advertising of bids. Any discussion? If not, we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. All right, auditor. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. Sherry Lund, Lincoln County Auditor. I'm coming up today to talk to you about, if you will remember, we set up a budget committee. The purpose of the committee was to create a solid process for the budget to include timelines, job separation, workflow. The committee members included myself, Jim Schmidt, Jake Oakland, Toby Brown, and Paul Anderson. We reviewed the budget calendar and planning cycle, which was part of the agenda, and set out the timeline for when everything was going to be done. The only change that could possibly be on here is on the training to enter the budgets. I have found a different software that I would like to implement in 2026 for 27 budget, something like that. So I might not train them on how to enter it into Encode, so that's the only difference. Otherwise, all the timeline is gonna stay the same as far as the due dates. The committee went over the budget instruction letter, job description questionnaire, new position request, and vehicle purchase request. The only thing that we need to do is the Board of Commissioner needs to set what's a reasonable amount for budget increase. I know last year we did it 3%, and that was not a board decision, so I'm asking you today, what would you like to see? And basically what it's gonna do is if it's above that percentage, then they're gonna come in and talk to you about it. And it would be anything not personnel items.
Do you know like what the inflation rate is currently?
Right now, the CPI that the state is letting me use for tax increase is 2.9%.
And are you looking for action on that today?
Not necessarily. You
Okay.
might want to just think about it and then, discussions amongst yourself or whatever and come up with a recommendation that you want to have on that. So the county budget is the operating plan, which contains an estimate of proposed expenditures, the purpose and the means of financing the expenditures. All parties concerned with the budget preparation and adoption should be aware of and involved in the general provision incorporated with the budget processes. These would include the legal foundation behind the budget structure, developing expenditure and revenue estimates, planning and final budget revenue adoption. So under this agenda item, I did include the codified law section or chapter 7 that deals with the budget for anybody to review. What we're going to do is we're going to request that each department come up here and give a brief, this is what happened in '24, this is what we expect in '25, and this is what we're looking at in '26. It's going to be a very high level, it's not going to be in-depth budget numbers, but just to get the commission and the county members familiar with who are the departments, what do they do, and what are we looking at. So when we have looked at, I looked at the revenue for '25, and let me see. So this is how the 2025 budget sets. We have expenditures under these different expense categories of $47,701,703.85. And then we have the revenues of the 40 million. What this does is it leaves us with cash applied, which is a word you're going to hear a lot about, of $6,924,302.63 over all of the cash accounts. Then this is not uncommon for budgets, but what cash applied means is if, Jim owes us lunch. If everything in the budget happens the way it is laid out, you would have that much cash taken out of your funds. That hasn't happened. In 2023, we had a cash applied in the general fund of $7 million and some change. What we did is we decreased the preliminary number for the decrease of the cash in the general fund was $792,405.51. It's been a few years in a row now that we've had a decrease in the cash, but it has not been much more than the 792,000. Two things happen with budget. You need to have, well, not need to, must have the budget authority to spend the money, and then you must have the cash. Without these two things, you cannot spend money from county funds. The budget authority is, if the budget authority is not there for the spending, then we do supplemental hearings. You've seen probably over the last year where we've been doing quarterly supplemental hearings. What those have been based on is board action. And I've tried to get the department heads to put in their facts and vetting, was this budgeted, was it not? So when the board passes an item and it says it's not budgeted, chances are you're going to see a supplement here, see the action in a supplement hearing within that quarter. The outside agencies, we spend a little bit of money with them. I think it was $228,000 that we have budgeted for 2025. This would include public libraries, senior citizens, and then other sources. I think we need to review that. I tried to look through codified laws, and most of them are may send the money to them. Nothing says that you have to. The only one that does say anything specific is a codified law regarding senior citizens, and it's saying that you are not able to send more than $20,000, which we went over that last year by about $10,000. So in this process, by reviewing all these laws, I've found that we were incorrect in doing that. So we will change that process for the senior citizens. So the common theme that we hear a lot is we want to lower taxes. Everybody wants to lower taxes. I want my taxes lowered. However, in order for Lincoln County to lower their taxes, they would need to decrease the budget by $17 million $871,204. I don't know where you're gonna make those cuts. I don't think you can make those cuts. Over the last years, this is the general fund levy. You'll see that it went from 1.946 in 2020 to 1.531. This is only the general fund levy. As part of the presentation, I included the listing of the levies by county. This list is in order highest to lowest. Lincoln County is the 7th from the bottom as far as what their general fund levy is. The Budget Committee did have some following recommendations. We would like to see a purchase agent for supplies in the courthouse, where instead of everybody buying a box of pens, we maybe buy a case of pens. And then have a way of, I know that they have like supply vending machines or something like that, a way of doing it so that we can get a cost savings that way. We also want to see the commission come up with a capital improvement plan. At this time, I don't think that Lincoln County has one. And we want to establish an annual fee resolution, which would hit every department. So those are some big tasks, but I think that we can work through it and get it to happen. Is there any questions on the calendar or anything that I've said?
Just generally, that 2.9 CPI for as far as the budget increase. I'd probably support that generally overall, but one thing that we have that's kind of an unknown is when we take over the new courthouse facility, what, there's gonna be obviously some added expense, probably for equipment, utilities, and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure what that looks like and how to manage that in the budget, and maybe our buildings and ground superintendent has that under control, but he might have a harder time dialing in.
Well, and I think you're right, and we have to remember that budgets are not exact. Budgets are a guideline, and you budget for what you know, and then you supplement for what comes along. So as much as everybody'd like to stick hard and fast to the budget, I think it's pretty hard. But the calendar all looks okay, and you guys are okay with the department head schedule of when they're gonna come in and do their presentations?
Yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, I like to see this. I'm glad that you guys have put this together, because we haven't had this before, really. Not to this degree anyway, so I think it looks great.
And we're gonna continue. One thing that we did come up with in the budget committee is we want to do a peer review of budgets before they're submitted. So, because there's a lot of stuff that.
Are you the peer?
No, the budget committee is, because before I was the peer. And that was a lot, and I probably missed a lot. So this will help make sure that, we're not critiquing their budget, but maybe making sure that it looks in line as to where it's going.
Right, well, it never fails after the date that we adopt the budget, that people come in with FTE requests or new equipment requests that really should have been part of their budget request in the first place.
Yep, and I think that's where this will help, because if they're thinking they need a new full-time employee, they should be saying that at this time of their presentation. If they need new cars, they should be saying that at the time of the presentation, so that everybody's aware, first of all, that it's coming. Then I think, if the next thing we might want to do then on the calendar is have a deadline for the FTEs and the cars, so that we know what we're looking at. Because when we're doing the personnel budget, if I get all that spreadsheet done, and then they come in, they're like, oh, wait, we need full-time people, it makes it more complicated. So that might be the only improvement to the calendar.
Sherry, has this calendar been socialized with the rest of the courthouse, or is this the first look?
Nope, so I did talk to the department heads in January, and I have not gotten any feedback from anybody, so they must be okay with it. Or limited feedback anyway. So this is not the first time they've seen it.
Okay.
Say, when you're
People on your
talking
commission.
about,
Hold on. Commissioner Otten, you have a question? Go ahead.
How many people are on your commission?
On our committee, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when I get my new hire in, she'll be on there, but we'll have 6.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Putnam, you had a question?
yeah, when you're talking about lowering taxes and you talked about $17 million, what percentage was that?
That'd be 100%. What do you mean percentage?
Well, I guess I'm not,
He probably means percentage of our overall budget. Is it 50%?
Well, that would be the general fund budget.
Divide 17 by 47 and get your number, right?
47 million.
Yeah, isn't that it? Yeah. Sherry, thank you for putting this together. I think what Commissioner Landine and you were saying, when you got to impose discipline on the process, because that's how, in larger organizations, that's how you get hold of these unwieldy requests for like vehicles and new employees and things
36.
like that. And then I think circulating and sharing this with the rest of the folks in the courthouse.
Yep.
And then they can start to internalize the fact like, hey, on April 25th, I got to have my request in, right?
Yep.
And if we start to impose and that discipline, but then also create that culture, folks will start to get into a more, it'll be more rigid. I know some folks may not like that, and this commission could always just say, we don't care. I mean, that wouldn't be the best practice, but it could. But I think that's been part of the issue, is you get this roller coaster effect in your budget because people are just coming at you throughout the year wanting money. And we just got to say, hey, look, you get, unless it's and again, this commission could say otherwise, I only speak for myself, but unless it's an emergency, you got to go through the regular budget process to get your money. So, thank you for doing this.
Commissioner Putnam, that percentage came out to roughly about 36% of the budget would have to be cut to lower anybody's property tax.
But you have to remember, out of that 47 million, we have debt service, so you can't really count that.
Right,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
I hope the commission realizes that this was a very detailed evaluation, and I congratulate our auditor for her leadership. But I also was impressed with, we had a lot of input from our staff. And as a commissioner, to sit and listen to the commitment that the staff has to how they value our tax dollars. I mean, they don't just willy-nilly sell these things. They are very cognizant of the fact and try to get the most bang for the dollar. It was very enlightening to understand the complexity of a county budget and how well that is taken care of, but how detailed it has to be. But this is really a major move from what we have had in the past to try to enlighten not only commissioners, but the public as well, to better understand how budgets work and how some of the scary numbers that you hear, like cash applied, for example, and you're not running for the woods on that. When you dig deep in there, you find out that the commission and its employees do very well. But I want to talk about two things. One is a purchasing agent. Now, I mean, no one wants to hire people, but on the other hand, we buy a tremendous amount of stuff every year. And it only makes good sense, after talking through this, that you have one centralized purchasing agent that is able to coalesce all of those requests, combine them, and probably get a much better deal than having 8 to 10 people dealing with 8 different vendors. The other one that we talked about a great deal was capital improvement plan. We have many issues confronting us, not only the implementation of a new justice center, but what we're going to do with the building that sits right next door called the old courthouse. what we're going to do with that, where that's going to go, what's our plan on that, and any other things that we have to take care of as far as the county continues to grow. So I think these are two critical items that the commission really has to take and evaluate and try to take some action on. Commissioner Landine, you said you were comfortable with 2.9%. I looked at that and I figured we've always operated pretty close to 3%. 3% seems to me it's a budget. It can fluctuate up, it can fluctuate down. My own personal privilege would be 3%. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or discussion from the board?
When you guys are talking about the 2.9 or the 3%, I think you better probably take a big look at what the state is doing as well, because they are cash crunched this year. And so they're really struggling at the state level because they don't have the finances either, so.
All right, anyone else? Sherry, do you have anything else?
I do not, but I just appreciate everybody that was part of the budget committee going through all this and tolerating me. No.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yep.
All right, next time on our agenda, we've got employee handbook updates.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Tracy Humphrey, your HR Director. So one of the things that we developed this year was a handbook committee to be able to have a good amount of feedback from different department heads and legal to be able to ensure that our handbook policies are not only the most effective, but it just are the most up-to-date that we can, rather than just myself looking at them. So we spent a couple of meetings and some emails to make some minor adjustments. So I'm just going to go through those briefly and then answer any questions you may have. So in the attached documents under the facts and vettings first, I have 4 points that we're going over. First is to amend the Extended Sick Leave Assistance Program. Currently, the language for that is too vague. We had, in feedback from legal and the rest of the committee, we wanted to amend that to require that you must have 24 hours of contribution before the use of the program. But then we also found that because ESL is such a smaller contribution amount now, we'd like to open it up to being PTO and ESL. There's no additional hardship on the county at all. It's just allowing that our employees are able to donate either kind of leave that they want to that extended sick leave program. Just for our new commissioners, that extended sick leave program is where you can donate 24 hours in your first 3 years of employment. And then in the future, if you have a circumstance that's FMLA and you've exhausted all your leave, you can request a certain amount of hours back from that bank to cover that cost of being out for longer than you have leave for. So then my next item is amend payments of benefits. So currently our language in FMLA and in the extended sick leave is it's not as clear on when they should be making payments for their benefits. So we just wanted to have it corresponding and talking with the auditor. We want to make sure that the county is being paid for insurance at the same time that we're paying it out. Essentially, that's all that changes there. Also, in item 3, 10.8 of the short-term disability, we began offering short-term disability as part of our benefit program. We needed to update the language in the employee handbook to reflect changes in the process. So talking about payment times, when they have to pay the county, when it looks like when they want to return back to work in a part-time capacity, as well as clarifying holiday expectations. And then the last item is weather emergency. We have emergency personnel who must report to work for public safety reasons. And the safety committee, and then reviewed by the handbook committee, has developed a weather emergency policy that lays out the county's obligation to their staff if it is unsafe for them to leave work. So to give an instance, a couple of years ago, we had a situation where the highway department, it was unsafe for their employees to return home after work because the plows had been pulled and they stayed at the highway shop. We did not have adequate cots for them to sleep on. And so that's where this is amending that to ensure that if we ever have an instance for our emergency personnel, essentially 911 dispatchers and highway, that we would supply them with a safe place to stay. But those are my items there, and I'm happy to go into any further details if you would like me to.
Anybody have any questions for staff?
If they can't leave, where do you put them then?
So the goal is to have cots available for them to stay in the building that they're already reporting to work. So we've already talked with Building and Grounds. We already have some cots available, so it potentially would be a slight increase of their cost, but it would be, I believe, budgetary already set aside.
Other questions? I have a question. Drew, did you go through this and vet it, and it's meeting up to solve all the things we've been talking about? So you're recommending approval? Thank you.
Yes, I should have said that as well, that legal reviews this before I bring it to you all.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? All right, is there any public input on this agenda item? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the employee handbook updates?
Move to
Otten.
approve. Second.
I've got a motion from Otten, second from Aaron's. Any further discussion? All right, if not, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes. All right, now's our time for opportunity for public comment for items not on the agenda. Anybody wishing to come up and speak to that may do so now. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner reports. Any commissioner reports today?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I wanted to bring up, especially this morning, that they had House Bill 1087, and it was authorized the recall of county commissioners. That did fail in committee. It went to House Local Government, and it failed there 3-10. And then on a personal note, I was assigned, Commissioner Aaron's was talking about how he was assigned to a committee, and so I was too, and it's the Urbanized Development Commission meetings, and that goes on forever, and it's under the Metropolitan Planning Organization. But Sean reached out and did 2 hours of training for me, so I was
Nice.
appreciative of him. So that was it.
All right, anybody else have reports they'd like to make? All right.
Madam Chair?
Oh, go
One more.
ahead.
We had the airport, David Meyer, we had Helms come down, and we had a meeting at the airport to talk over the relationship and the contract that we have with Helms. We talked about the future of the airport. We talked about grants. We talked about projects like the building project, or what to do with the 20 acres that we have. Interesting, should note that the 20 acres that Lincoln County bought next to the airport, due to grants, cost the taxpayers of Lincoln County $0. So now we're faced with the situation on what we, the commission, should do about building hangars and cashing in on rent, or to let private enterprise come in. We're trying to make the airport as neutral or profitable as we can. So there will be some plans coming forward to the commission to give them options on what we should do. There's a tremendous demand for hangar space. In fact, if, I think it came back from our airport manager, that if we were to announce, if we had hangar space available, that we would almost have to have a lottery to pick out who would get that, because there is such pent-up, there's just no hangar space available here in Sioux Falls or in Laverne or any airport that is very close to the area where all the planes are. And it's the busiest airport in South Dakota. And I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details, because we will be giving you a tremendous amount of information and some major decisions which will affect the growth of that airport, one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead then. We have a need for an executive session? under SDCL 125-2 sub 3. All right, it always confuses me because the numbers don't match up with the other number. Sorry. Can I get a motion to go into executive session under SDCL 125-2 sub 3?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Otten.
I've got a motion and a second. We call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to come out of executive session. Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten? Schmidt?
Yeah.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, Commissioners. All right, we have a ADP work session this morning to just go over how to access ADP and be able to do performance evaluations.
Yeah, can we everybody get on and let's
Yes, I was gonna
do
say-
this real time?
Absolutely, that's what
Okay.
perfect.
Perfect.
So if I'm going to go to the first screen here. So if you guys are logged into the computer, you're going to use this first website here, which I would recommend being logged into the computer if you can be.
What's
It's
the,
adp.lincolncountysd.gov.
and this isn't through, we don't have to be signed into Civic Clerk or anything to get
No,
here.
yeah,
This
if you're
is
logged
just-
in, so if you logged in with your credentials on the computer, then you can access it this way. If you didn't log in with your credentials, I can walk you through how to be able to log in.
Okay.
ADP. What's this about?
So this is-
ADP.
.lincolncounty.com or dot.
All right.
Am I at?
Yeah, so if you open a web browser,
Type in,
Yeah, I was
go to
gonna say,
a
yeah.
browser.
We got a major malfunction here.
perfect, yep.
Oh, it is.
Always.
Well, hers is different. so
Mine
I
just
was
looks a little, it's the same, but
Yeah,
it's just,
Oh.
I never
The
make
setup
this
is-
thing
but
work.
yes, you both are at the right.
Doug, when you make it work.
the layout
let
of
me
the
know.
page is just a little different, it looks like.
Oh. So we go down.
Now,
here.
what are we trying
So
to
you can click on that
accomplish?
button.
So
Right
she's
there.
just gonna show you how all of
So
your
here, yeah.
ADP works.
And double click on it for me.
As the liaison, you'll be
So-
the department head.
Doug, when you'll be doing
Double click
employee
again.
reviews for, like Terry Floyd,
Yes.
On that right there.
you won't do the
At
Steve
home, I have to
Swenson
go
because
Okay,
he's
that's right.
elected, but you'll do Terry's.
Do it on
Okay.
my mobile.
So it's all done
Oh, you do?
electronically.
Okay.
So she's showing us how to get in
Yes.
there to do
How
these
about this one
performance
over here?
evaluations.
Pretty
Do you mind if I
intuitive.
put use
Right.
mouse
No.
over? I see what's going on.
How long after when do you do this here?
It'll show you and she'll go over it, but so that'll, your team, it should.
HR will let you know when those are due, or I don't,
Yeah,
I guess
I'm
I'd
sending
have to
emails
go
you.
visit them before I could make a review.
Yeah,
Review,
yeah, and that's
yeah.
all, that's all part of it.
This is time off then, I mean, it's gonna
No,
be a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know when Terry's.
Yeah.
this is how you access all your, your tax documents.
There we
Yeah,
go.
and this is,
But
yeah,
it's
so
like-
It's
you
where
can
you
get
make
your
PTO
stuff and
requests.
your,
Two on that side of the
So you can get your
Probably.
stuff and then you can see your employee stuff, and I don't know
I
how,
think very intuitive.
do you have, Tracy, do you have
Yep.
the department heads associated with their liaisons?
No
I
problem.
assigned it at the time of the performance evaluation. So,
Okay.
but I can yeah, so because basically that's the only thing that is assigned to them is the performance evaluations at this point.
I think the commissioners should be able to access on ADP whoever their
You
liaison
can go in there.
I can- that's
assignments
good.
are, because
I
that's
just went in
part
there,
of
I
it,
set up my profile.
But yeah, be
is-
able to see more
is
than just
staying
that.
up to speed on what's going on.
Let me make a quick note because I'll have
For my
change a
department.
couple of
I have
settings
no
with
idea.
that, but.
Have you done that yet?
I did.
So, I don't know what you did, but. so
I'd have to
it's
say the
ADP,
same.
it's ADP,
That's
Lincoln County SD.
Yep, and he's logged in there right now.
So that was interesting.
Okay, is everybody signed in?
We will.
Second
Getting
time
access
that,
to it.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
Could be.
All right, everybody, is everybody signed in?
Yep.
All right,
Right.
Yep.
So, once you're signed in, there's a couple of things I want you to be able to access. So first, if you look at the top and click on Myself, On there, that is where you can update your information, you can view your profile, be able to update payment options, so if you have a new bank account or if you have tax withholdings that you want to modify. So this is just for you to be able to look at. You don't actually have to make any changes at this point. So if you look at this, scroll up at the top, sir,
Oh, I see.
and you click on myself.
Self, I see.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. And you just click it once. There you go. So you can view your profile. To the left is how you can update your address or your phone number. If you do ever change your phone number, the great thing is that it updates IT. IT will update it on the website and everything else there. So this is connected all the way through, so you don't have to notify anybody else if there was going to be any changes. The other things to be aware of is on the more on the far right under pay. It's going to allow you to change your tax withholdings or look at your pay and tax statements. So your W-2, while it was mailed, also you can view it on here. And then you also can update your W-4. So if you ever need to make any changes, that's where that is. Other than that, most of the time under myself, you won't have to do much in that regard because the rest of it is looking at like your own performance evaluation or things of that nature.
Can I evaluate myself?
You could evaluate yourself if you wanted to. It's not set up for you to do so, but if you want to, you can. I will say another thing under myself that you're just so your staff is aware of. That you're aware of what your staff can do. This looks exactly the same for you as it does for your staff. So they can view their performance evaluations, their goals, update their taxes and everything as well. So any questions on how to update your information? Okay. So one of the things that is important to know is that we do have under the things to do. So on the far right at the top, sort of where on the far right on the top it says things to do.
Yep.
Yep. So if there's a red check mark or a red dot there, so we're going to go click on that things to do. Yep. If there's a red check mark, that means that there's something that is being asked for you to do. So
Where's that at, Tracy?
yep, on the
Oh,
far
right
right
there.
top.
Got it.
So if you have, so for those of you that are in the process of performance evaluations, so you'll have a release to be able to like release the performance evaluation. So right now, I don't know if you met with Toby yet or not, but if you had, you could click on this button here and it will let you, it's just saying that you need to meet with him and release, like go over the evaluation with him. So we're gonna just click those three dots on the far right.
Okay.
You gotta turn down your mouse speed.
And then you could click on the performance dashboard, yep. And for some reason it's not loading. Let's see, do you mind if I take over for you real quick?
Performance dash.
So you won't have one yet, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so right now under things to do, it would show you the, here we go. It would show you employee handbook updates as well, which right now you guys don't need to worry about at the moment. Oh, sorry, let me get over on that. For some reason yours isn't loading properly, Jim, so let me just see what's going on.
And I thought I released my review, but it still comes up here as release review. And I can't get it to, I don't know what it's supposed to do. Oh, the three.
I know.
Back in the good old days when you could just, whatever.
I know, it's
Oh, just release?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we, can you give us a handbook
I did
on
that
how to
yesterday.
run this thing?
yes, I do,
I wonder if.
in the attachment, it does go through each step as
Doug, I
well.
have no,
Jim, would you mind putting in your password again for?
I have no idea what my password is.
Oh,
That's why we're doing this.
I have
There we
no,
go.
your computer for, like the login for your computer?
I have
email?
no idea, hell, I don't,
Oh, so when you got in here this
All
morning, you
right,
didn't have to.
Carter,
no, no.
can you come out for a second, please?
I'll change my password, that's something.
And
That went back.
hers just came up, so I'm assuming that that's, I don't have to do yours.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I
God.
opened mine up so we could look at an example.
Okay.
Can you get him so he can sign in,
Yeah. I don't have a
please? He does, he just doesn't know what it is.
password. Well, yeah,
I had the same problem this morning.
there's change, so. You want to change the password now?
And Paul, did you get my
Want me to give you a good
ask
enough
about
password?
when we were doing pictures again?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
What is it?
Jake.
Okay.
Might just have to.
I want to write it down.
Maybe we'll just do it today. Next week.
Pictures?
Let's do next week. We'll do it next week. I'm just gonna take it with our camera. I don't think we're gonna bring it
Oh,
right up
okay.
there personally.
Well,
I
it ain't
need a
gonna
group-
be today if you didn't tell us we were gonna do it today.
Oh, that-
Let's plan on
that'll
it for
run.
next week.
Okay,
Well, it's just gonna be a
And
single
number
storage
one.
picture that goes to SDACC
okay.
for their,
And he's not,
Lincoln County,
updating
one,
our
Lincoln
individual
County,
unless you want to, but.
Oh,
44
okay.
Lincoln County,
I
one.
kind of,
he was
everyone
okay
is,
with that?
yeah, everyone
Oh.
kind of wanted their.
Well, this, yeah, this
Okay,
picture
very
I
good.
hate, but the
We
one
can
that's
never
on my
guess on
ID
that.
is fine.
Which one's on mine?
Okay,
It's a bad one.
there you go, Doug.
It's old.
I was gonna say,
Lincoln,
the, I
44
don't know if
Lincoln
the ones
County,
on the
one.
website are the most, are the ones you guys took.
The ADP one isn't
You
anyway,
know, Doug.
but I'm fine doing a new one too, I don't care.
I
I can send you
We
one.
can, yeah, if you just wanna, yeah, if you have one you prefer, like if you did one for your
Yep.
law firm, just, I think, cause he was doing that and then,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yeah, feel free to just
Well,
send
I use
him.
my grandson's
If you have a
name,
preferred one, I
Nicholson.
think at this point,
And then I got a
He's
good
given
friend,
up
I
on-
use his
Oh,
name.
cause
okay.
everyone kinda
Bob
had
Lee.
something preferred.
Gotcha.
But we'll do a group picture next week with just the IT camera
Okay.
for, SDACC.
Gotcha.
And do you want
Well,
us
for the
to
most part,
dress color
You
like?
can get all your-
You can dress however you
Okay.
want,
The worst
it'll just be
part
for
about
their,
this is 95%
contact sheet, contact distribution list.
There's more, or more.
Okay, so I'd like you all to,
Welcome to ADP.
I'd like you to actually go to a different website, just because I want to make sure that it works for each of you and you're all aware of your password.
I haven't got
So
this
if
one
you'll
yet.
actually type ADP
Yeah.
admin, so ADMIN, .lincolncountysd.gov.
Can you repeat that
Yep,
again?
absolutely, sorry, it changes. ADP admin .lincolncountysd.org. It also is on the.
ADP admin all ran together
Yep, all
And-
ran
and
together,
then what?
.lincolncountysd.org.
at Lincoln County, and it's org, not gov?
I'm sorry, it can go either
It's
one,
dot,
.org
it's
or admin, sorry. ADP admin .lincolncountysd.org. I misspoke there at the moment and I said at rather than dot. And this one's gonna force you to put your password in, so that's why I wanna make sure that it works for all of you.
On my password's the same on everything.
It keeps disappearing.
Yeah, it keeps getting dropped, like if you, it's like, it's
See, I can't
falling
help it.
below the bar.
You think I don't know anything, but see.
And I
you end
don't
up
know how
with-
it's doing
I
that.
never said,
Well, you think.
So
No, I didn't.
let's,
Oh, yeah.
so that's what it's doing, okay.
I don't think that at all.
Perfect, yep, under
If you
my
asked me
team,
to
that's
go through
exactly
this
where
when
you need
she's
to be.
done.
Where is that at?
Well, this should have been done a long, long time ago.
So, ADP.
Lincoln
Workforce
County.
Now, Performance.
Yep, so you, that is where you need to be. so,
SD.
I'm just trying to figure out how to.
Dot
how to
gov.
be able to get that.
Oh,
And I'll email you all the instructions as well, so that way it's not just on the agenda.
So when I type in that ADP admin,
Yeah,
at
Sorry, I
just
misspoke
write it
when I
down
said
so I
at,
have
it's
it.
dot.
now what do we?
ADP dot admin,
I'm sorry,
What do we do
ADP
now?
admin dot. So just delete the at and put a dot there. Yep. And that should be the correct.
there's
one.
no ad in there at
No,
all?
there's no ad. in there.
Okay.
That was
Why is it
I missed
cited?
Oh, and if, you'll just have to
Supposed
copy
to be
that and
now
put it in the
govern-
URL.
Government,
Yeah, .gov.
dot
We
gov.
just keep getting that circular log.
How come it's not here, dot gov?
It just keeps
We're just
logging
getting a
in,
circular
logging in,
login
logging
letter.
in.
Oh, okay, let's see, so you did that. And you did your password.
Do they have admin access? Is that, because it's trying to
Yeah.
add,
And this one has just gone, this is like the third time scrolled through.
It's.
Okay,
See?
so he keeps doing that. Interesting. Okay, let's do this for me. Hit exit on this one here. And this is where we're testing this one, because everyone should be able to access this fine. So let's go back and hit next for me. I wonder if it was valid.
This is why, it's because your thing, your
Version of it
profile's
open.
lost.
Oh, right.
You don't have a My Team, you just have yourself.
Oh, it just keeps scrolling.
Yeah.
See how he has a
Okay, so
My Team there?
he's fine.
You where?
He has My Team.
Yeah.
You don't have that. He's missing his things.
And
He doesn't have his My.
ADP.
Yep.
ADP admin.
Yeah, it's just, it's making you repeat
did the
everything.
What you're saying, what's up here, is just so wrong.
Commissioner Schmidt, did you get my, text back to you
I
about
did.
the date?
Yeah.
Cause it was.
Well, I don't think you're having a meeting on Monday night.
Okay, well, it hasn't been changed, it's still
Well,
on
I
our
tell you,
calendar.
We're gonna get Toby to get you clarified.
Okay, very good.
Yep,
Cause yeah, we need ours ahead of time.
yeah.
You might
Yeah, it's
wanna
just
call-
We
looping
need it
around.
now, or I
Well,
get
no,
the
it's
time, I got that.
unfortunately,
And I
it's a
sent
me
him that,
thing.
When I talked with him, he said the 18th, because that is a
Okay.
holiday.
No, the 19th is a holiday, isn't it? President's Day? Which is
February?
Monday.
I think it's 17th.
17th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just keeps making you re-enter the information.
yep.
President's Day,
And yet it's working for
President's Day is the
Putnam, but
17th.
nobody
Yeah.
else.
Yes.
so that's why you probably meeting on the 18th.
Okay, let me see.
Okay. And so
Which
they're
one
moving P and
is
Z to
Toby's
the 18th
liaison?
at
Do you
night?
guys, is
I'm
that
sorry,
Schmidt?
what's that?
Is Schmidt Toby's
I will get him to
Toby's
send you-
liaison?
Were you?
I'm gonna try to test.
last year?
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, yeah, I was just trying to clarify. I'm gonna test one thing to figure out what's going
That's not
on.
gonna work. That computer will kick you back every time.
All right, so,
Let me try one more thing.
I apologize, commissioners. I'm not sure what's going on with this.
Can we go back through to the other one since we got a hiccup here and show us how to do the, where we go for the personnel evaluations?
I figured out why it's kicking y'all out, so that's good.
Just for time's sake?
Yep. All right. Yes, there we go. Will you,
That'll be under things to
Paul?
do.
Yeah, Paul, would you mind reloading Schmidt's for me? I just want to see if I fixed the problem or not.
No.
Okay. I'll have to work with IT and figure out what's going on with that. All right, so if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna show you on my screen how you would access it, so that way you guys are all on the same page. So what should happen is under here, you should see something called My Team. Right now, it's not loading for anyone besides Putnam, so I'm gonna have to work with IT and ADP to fix that. But once you log on to ADP, it should allow you to go to My Team. Under My Team, there is a section under Talent that says Performance Dashboard. That is how you can view any of the people that you have. So again, it's My Team, under Talent, and you guys won't see quite as many things in here, but Talent and then Performance Dashboard.
Now, where does it say talent?
It should,
We don't have the
Yeah.
team drop down right now because we're
Yeah.
not in the,
yeah, Putnam, for whatever reason, his is working. Nobody
Okay.
else's is. Under the Performance Dashboard, this is where you're going to be able to see your employees' any performance evaluations that are due. So as you can see here, I have my employee Ashley. Her performance evaluation is currently in process. Sorry, is there?
No.
Oh, you're just
Betty's
trying-
works the,
both Betty and Doug, when you sign into adp.lincolncountysd.gov, shows this.
Shows this. Okay, so it is working for those two, just not, okay. Great, we'll figure that out. That gives me a starting point to solve for. Okay, so under performance evaluations, all you would have to do is click the employee's name. No, sorry, my apologies. We're going to, why is it going to the wrong? Yeah, okay, you click the employee's name, it's gonna take them to their profile, and you're gonna go here and hit provide feedback. So under the feedback, and I'm actually gonna jump out of this one to show you guys mine, because mine is the actual, what you guys will be using. All right, so as a department head, we have two sections of the performance evaluation. They have goals and they have questions. Under goals, these are goals that they have set themselves. Now, if you've given them guidance for goals that you would like them to accomplish, those can be in here as well. Right now, all of the department heads have been directed to add goals for 2025. Some of the staff, they've added their goals from 2024 as well to give you an update on them if they're in process as well. So you would go through here. So for me, you can see that my goal for 2024, or one of my goals is implement ADP. And I can see here that I have 90% progress there. So you can see that I'm 90% of the way through with my goal. Me as an employee, I'm going to rate myself and say how well I'm doing with my goal. And then I'm also going to put a comment here. And I'll go through and they'll do the same thing. Here's my goal here. I've updated to say I'm 100% in my goal here. I would have put a comment saying why I think I'm at 100%. And I'll just go through all of my goals as followed and give myself comments and ratings. The reason why this is important is that then you guys would review these during the performance evaluation. You will also give a rating, so how you're feeling they did with meeting those goals, and that you will also give comments on them. So you would say, so for example, if I met with Commissioner Otten and I can tell her that I have not made any progress on my documenting standards of operating procedures, maybe she would give me an unsatisfactory performance and say like, please have something done by March 1st or something of that line, okay? So then we'd go through all the different goals and then we get to the questions. Now, this is where I want to be clear. You guys are welcome to give feedback if you want to modify any of this, because this kind of evaluation is only your guys's towards your staff. The department heads, every other department I work with them to decide how they want their evaluations to be. So if you want to make any modifications, please let me know. So right now we have a total of 13 questions for the department heads. And you're going to just make a comment or a rating depending on what it is. So these questions currently are framed towards the department head. So how do you want to grow as a leader? Whereas your question is going to say, how have they grown as a leader? And I'm going to put a comment saying, I want to empower my staff, to do more tasks. You would come in here and say, hey, I think you're doing a great job with that. Or you would say, hey, I've noticed that your staff don't know very well. You need to grow in this area. And you're just going to go through each question. So what is going well with the department? Is there anything you want them to stop or start doing this upcoming year? What support do they need from you? And then you would respond back with, hey, yes, I'm all for offering that support, or hey, you need to do something differently. After question 5, you're going to give a rating. So does the department head follow direction given by the county? You would rate them as exceeds expectations, achieves performance standards, unsatisfactory performance, or you don't know. Don't know, especially for our newer commissioners, is completely fine. But I would recommend, if you don't know, maybe being able to reach out to other commissioners to be able to get a rating for that individual. But sometimes we just genuinely aren't involved enough in a department to know fully how well they do in a certain area. So the rest of the questions from question 5 down to 13 are all questions that you're going to give a rating for. So it exceeds, achieves, unsatisfactory, or don't know. At the end of all this, we would go here to the next, hit next. It's going to ask you to give them an overall rating. So, overall, do you feel that they exceed expectations, achieve performance standards, or do unsatisfactory performance? Just so you know, from an HR perspective, as long as they receive and achieves performance standards, that is your communicating to HR that they should get a step increase. If they had an unsatisfactory performance, then that would be where I would reach out to you and say, hey, is there a work improvement plan that needs to take action? What's going on with that department head? Do you need any support in that area? But otherwise, as long as their average achieves performance standards, there's no other communication that HR needs for us to give a step increase. You would also write any final comments if you want to. It's not mandatory, so I'm going to just say they achieved performance standards. Hit next. Now, obviously, I don't have everything completed, so it won't let me hit submit. But if I had everything completed, it would let me hit submit. Now, the difference that I have right now is that for you guys, you'll actually see the department head's response while you are doing the evaluation. So I'm going to show you with my team what it looks like when you're actually being able to see what their comments have been at the same time. So I can look here. Now, Ashley just had her evaluation released to her, so she doesn't have any comments. But when I'm reviewing it, it will also have her comment right here under employee response. So I can review their answers while I'm putting my answers in there. Same thing with their rating. I would see their rating while I'm putting my rating in. After you have submitted, it will ask you if you want to release your evaluation to the employee. And that will show up here. It'll say, instead of provide feedback, it'll say release to employee. My recommendation is to not release it to the employee until you've planned on meeting with them and gone over it. But that is at your discretion. If you want to release it to them, have them review it first, and then you meet with them, that's completely up to you. But basically, as soon as it moves from provide feedback to release, they now have a notification that they have a performance evaluation to review. Once you've reviewed it with them, they get a notification here that says, it has a notice that says they've reviewed their evaluation, and that closes the performance evaluation. So as soon as you click release, there's no more action that you need to take as long as you've had the discussion with the performance eval with the employee. The goal with the goals is that that's a great conversation starter with you and your staff. And the goal with the questions is to be able to give them direct, objective feedback on how their performance is doing. Each department will have their own amount of goals, and everyone has the same amount of questions, which is those 15. So, as a reminder, how you access it is that you would hit My Team and go under Performance Dashboard. You would see your employee. You'll click on their name, and then you can start providing feedback there. Right now you can see that this employee self-assessment is not completed. If you as a department head want to, you can remind them, but your department heads are really good at getting them done way ahead of time, typically, before the due date. But if you ever are finding that they haven't completed it before you're about to, we can just click this Remind Employee and it will send a reminder to them. So those are the two main aspects of being able to access ADP. The first is Myself, where you can update your information. The second is My Team and Performance Dashboards. You can also, if you're not doing a performance evaluation, but you want to see how they're doing with their goals, I have recommended that department heads always put their performance goals in here, because you can also view those without having to do a performance evaluation. I would recommend that you give direction to your department head if you want them to keep it up to date, because that has been an optional thing up until this point. Any questions on how to access your information and then also your team's information? Okay, one other thing I just want to make you aware of is under My Team, there's an area here called Employee Documents. This would be under here is that you can see, and I'm not going to open it because I can see more than, as HR, I can see more than what you guys can. This would be if there was ever a work improvement plan applied to that department head, if there was ever a corrective action, or if there was notes that were public to you all about an investigation. So if you're ever wanting to look back at that for something, the employee documents is here. Also, under performance dashboard, you can go, when you click on their name, you can look at historical evaluations as well. So anyone who has a anniversary date from April on will have a performance evaluation in here. Anyone who's prior to April, this will be their first evaluation in the system. But that way, for those of you that are new, have not interacted with their staff before, or this is new for you, with that specific department head, you can look at what has happened in the past as well. Any questions or concerns for me? I know that I need to both assign the liaisons to make sure that all of you guys are able to see your staff, and also need to troubleshoot why some of you are not able to go to see your team. Other than that, those are the main components. I'm happy to go through other things with you if you want to be able to view, like if you're interested in viewing like their employment profile, you can see, I'm not going to scroll down because again, I can see things that you guys can't, but it can show you like their anniversary date, their hire date, their phone number, different things like that.
Where are like our W-2s and stuff?
Yeah, the W-2s are going to be under myself
Okay,
and under tax withholdings.
gotcha.
And
Thank you.
that's, under pay and tax statements, and then tax withholding is how you can adjust your W-4.
Okay.
There's a lot of, just so you guys are aware, there's a lot of things that our staff are using ADP for. There's learning modules that we have. So we implemented slip, trip, and fall prevention training. That's happening in ADP. I have some departments that use their schedules in here. I have some departments that use like one-on-one meetings. So there's a lot of opportunities for our department heads to utilize it. So if you're ever curious, I'm happy to set that up for you as well.
What
Okay.
is voice of the employee?
Yes, the great question. The voice of the employee is actually going to show, let me see, voice of the employee. That is a survey set format that we can utilize. So currently, whenever we have a survey that we send out to the community, that's what shows up here. So you as a manager could always send out a survey if you just generally wanted, and I can walk you through how to make one of those. We also do employee exit surveys as well that show up here for them as, and we can, as HR, we review that with like the department heads and say, okay, is there any feedback that you want to improve upon? But yeah, that's what that is the voice of the employee is their thing. If you want to also, and this is probably something important to note for you guys, is under my team, under team calendar, you can view your employee's time off. So as I can see here, Ashley doesn't have any time off this week, nor did she have any time off last week. But I can see that the week before, she had Martin Luther King Day off. Or I can see that she had Wednesday and Friday of the 15th and 17th off. So that is, if you're curious, I don't know what each of your relationships are with your liaisons, but if you're curious about what their upcoming time off is, that is also a way to be able to view it. So that is under my team and team calendar. I will say sometimes departments may or may not put it in way in advance. They may just put it the week of, so it may not always be accurate for the forecasting of what they may be doing. One last thing is under resources. In case you ever want to know, our company policies have all of our handbooks here. So I'm going to be, as soon as we're done today, I'm going to have a 2025 employee handbook updated on here with all the changes that you all approved. So if you're ever curious on what any of our policies are, that will be available on here as well. So under resources and company policies. Under home is our announcements and different things like that. So as you can see, we have employee anniversaries from January, our HR email, and different things like that. So this is just more for the day-to-day staff, but I'm happy for you guys to look at it and celebrate with us as well. So thank you. Any questions or anything I can help with?
Who updates the telephone list?
IT does. So when basically, like I said, if you updated your phone number, it goes from ADP directly to IT. IT then updates that phone list, and then they send it back to the county hub website. So that way everyone's up to date.
Because I see it's September 16th, last year.
Let's see, which one?
The telephone list?
Oh, on here? Yes. So that, I need to check on that. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. We have been switching some of our stuff to our county hub site, which I don't know actually, that's a good thing for me to point out. Under informational technology links on the front page of ADP, there's a thing called County Hub. And IT developed this as a way to hold a bunch of documents essentially for the county, because ADP was, while we can do it, we have to upload them individually. So this is where we can hold all this different information. So job descriptions, this is where we have all of our employee job descriptions. We also have like benefit information, a copy again of our policies and things like that, as well as the updated phone list. So Betty, that means that I have not updated the phone list because it is the most accurate one is on the county hub. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I will update that.
And what is that?
And this is called the county hub. You only can access this as long as you're logged into your account, whether that's on your phone or your email. I will also email this link to you as well, so that way you can access it. In case there's any information here, example, our pay grade and matrix is on here. So if you're curious what those have looked like over the years, that's also available to you all. Our goal ultimately with IT has been to have as much transparency as possible. So have ADP as the hub for any action, and the county hub as a sort of database to hold our history of policies and procedures. Those of you that have performance evaluations, just so you know, HR would be emailing you about a month in advance, letting you know that you have performance evaluations that will be due. You'll also get a notification in an email from ADP as well. And that will go to your work email. So if you don't have access or don't check that as often, that's where it will go, is your work email. All right. I will get back to you all with a couple of issues that we had and make sure that you guys are able to access things accordingly. But if you don't have any other questions, got everything I needed.
And I found that county hub on the home website. It was down on the thing and it just said county hub, and I clicked that and it got into it.
Good. No, where is that? Sorry, what was that from? On the Lincoln County site or on the ADP?
ADP.
Perfect. Yes, that's where it should be. Yeah.
Okay.
We want to make sure that there's a link there for everybody to be able to access. I wasn't sure if you meant like the Lincoln County website. And I was like, I don't think it's on there.
It's under the January update.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we just launched it at the beginning of January with
Okay.
IT.
All right, anybody have any other questions for Tracy? All right, thank you, Tracy.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda is just to adjourn, so I'd consider a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, motion, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.